Welcome to the Long Dog Wool Stitch tutorial on how to crochet the puff stitch. This is an example of doing the stitch in the round. This is a eco-friendly, washable, reusable makeup pad remover. Now this one is made with a very, very fine cotton. I've left the tail on so you can see it, with a very small needle, or hook. So it's not the best to demonstrate it on, but I wanted you to see an example of what a puff stitch could look like. What we're going to work in is some thicker cotton yarn with a 5mm hook, my trusty Furls Odyssey. If you haven't already done a foundation and you want to crochet along, go ahead and do that now and pause the video and come back when it's done. I've done 11 chains and I've done a single crochet into the second chain from the hook and all the way to the end, so 10 single crochets. Chain 1 and turn, and 10 single crochets. So I've got 2 rows. So when we're ready to do the puff stitch, we do it on the front side or the right side of the fabric. So go ahead and pause, do your foundation, and press play when you're ready. All right, we are going to do 2 single crochets to start, just to give us some working space along the fabric. And there's 3 versions of the puff stitch, a 7 loop, 9 loop, and 11 loop. And they're all made the same way. So I'm going to start with the 7 loop. What you do is you yarn over, you put your hook into the stitch, you yarn over and pull up a loop. So far it's the same as what you would start a half double crochet or a double crochet. But unlike the bobble or the popcorn where you would pull through loops, you don't do that with the puff. You keep yarning over and pulling through until you have 7 loops on your hook. So I've got 3 right now. So I need to yarn over, insert the hook through the stitch, yarn over and pull through a loop, yarn over, insert in the stitch, yarn over and pull through a loop. So now I've got 7 loops on my hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 loops on my hook. Then I yarn over and I pull through carefully all 7 loops and do a chain to finish it off. And then a single crochet in the next stitch. And there is my 7 loop puff stitch. Now I'm going to show you a 9 loop puff stitch. So 1 more single crochet, just for some space. This cotton yarn splits very easily too. So yarn over, insert in your stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. And sometimes I pull it a little extra high and I shove the loops down the hook to give myself some room. Yarn over, into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. That's the second time. Yarn over, into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, that's the third time. Yarn over, into the stitch, yarn over, pull through a loop, that's the 4th time. There should now be 9 loops on my hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're sometimes hidden in the cotton. 7, 8, 9. So 9 loops, yarn over, pull through all 9, chain 1 to start, and I'm going to single crochet in the next stitch to anchor it down a little. So there's your 9 loop puff stitch. Do 1 more single crochet and I'll do an 11 loop puff stitch. You can see they're all made the same way. Yarn over, insert in stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. Yarn over, insert in stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. And sometimes you want to tug that loop up a little higher. Yarn over, insert stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. And that should give me 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to do it a couple more times. Yarn over, insert stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. That's 9. Yarn over, insert stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. There's 11. Yarn over and pull through, and sometimes you have to wiggle a little and then do a chain to finish it, and then single crochet in the next stitch. So what I've now got is 3 different puffs. a 7 loop, a 9 loop, and an 11 loop puff stitch. Now I'm just going to do the single crochet on the back row to show you where to go in, and this is where counting your stitches can really help, because the top of the puff stitch looks like it has a few options and you have to be careful not to go into the wrong one. So I'm going to chain 1 and turn. There's my single crochet at the end of the row. Now in the puff stitch, if you can see this, what you want to go into is that chain that you used to close the puff stitch, not the longer loop next to it, but the chain. So I'm going to go into that chain that's at the top. Can you see how that's the chain that we used to close the top of the puff stitch? So into that chain with my stitch, which in this case is a single crochet. And I know I had 2 stitches between them, but it looks like there's 3 there. Well, this one is actually just part of the puff stitch. So you want to make sure you actually go into a stitch, not another part of the puff stitch, or you're going to have too many stitches. So there's my 2 single crochets. If I look at the puff, there's the chain that closed the puff. So I'm going to go in there with my stitch. And I'm not going to go into that one, but I'm going to go into the next genuine single crochet from the row below. So there's 2 single crochets there. Then again, there's the 2 stitches. One sits right on top and one is more visible from the back. You want to go into that chain right at the top, and it'll be the smaller, tighter one, closest to your hook. And then you don't want to go into that one. You want to go into the next single crochet. So what I should have now, if I've done that right, is 10 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If I had gone into those stitches at the edge of the puff that looked like stitches, I would have had 13 stitches in this row. And if I did that every row, I'd end up with a V-shaped garment or fabric instead of a square. So you have to be careful of that. But there is your 7, 9, and 11 loop puff stitch.